Coming live from Atlanta, Georgia, USA is our guest tonight. Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Ken Stearns, writer, podcast creator, and host, lyricist, photographer, so many things. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Hello, Ajay. Thanks for having me. Amazing introduction. I love the energy you've got. Holy cow.
Thank you. Thank you. And I get the energy because we are talking about life, about risking it all, about finding the self and living the dream. And you are living your dream. At the moment, you had traded your suit for a van, a mic, and some questions. First is, where is your van? And the second part is, why to this van leaving your suit somewhere else?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ajay. The van is in the front of the house. I'm here in a small lake near Atlanta on the east coast of the U.S. I've got a beautiful nature spot in front of me, and it's just a great place to do some reflection on the first 6 months of my project, the first half, and really to start thinking also a little bit, Ajay, about what the next half looks like. Do I keep going the same way? What changes do I make in what I've been doing? As you mentioned, 12 months ago, really almost 12 months ago, I was in a suit and tie in a corporate office in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City, helping run an insurance company. Just 24 months before that, I was in Mumbai, working for Future Generali, life insurance company. I lived in Mumbai for about 1 year, but I've been traveling to Mumbai since 2001 with Tata AIG before that. And so it's great to talk to somebody from Delhi. I feel I have a real affinity for India, a love and a hate relationship. So many great things have happened there. So many difficult challenges. The country is just the wildest place. You feel that is a place I feel plugged into the universe when I'm there on the ground. And I wrote a lot of my book, actually, that started my journey with the podcast. I wrote a lot of the book in Mumbai. A lot of the structure came together in Mumbai. And I ended up writing a book that had basically 12 topics. And I took those topics and I created 444 questions about life. So I have your yesterday, I have 4 parts to the book. Book of Self, Ajay, is really about your yesterday, your today, and your tomorrow. I call it the battlefield of your mind, right? And then the next book is a book of others. This is the between two people. Acceptance, forgiveness, compassion. Very powerful tools when you're dealing directly with another human. And then the third part of my book was a book of all, which I kind of call humanity. And that is a love, karma, and service. Something good you want to have, when you're interacting with the world. And then, to the creators, whoever's in charge of this universe, whatever kind of God you believe in, or intelligent design, it was faith, hope, and prayer. And how we look at outside of ourselves and outside of humanity to interact with the universe. And so I took those 12 topics, I created 444 questions, and I put them in a jar. It's a big, beautiful jar. And that's one thing I should have for you to look at. And I created this opportunity for people to sit down and pull one question at a time from the jar and talk about it as it relates to their own personal life experience. Now, I thought I had 444 questions, but actually I have infinite, because everybody interprets the question differently, which surprised me. Even it's black and white. What is love? They have their own interpretation of what those 4 words mean. And then, of course, they have their own life experience about what love means to them. And so anyway, I've done 200 interviews. I've been to 60 cities since I started in April. And it's been a fantastic journey. And I've learned I'm a different person from when I started. Um, I've learned so much about people and about life, about the human spirit. It's surprised me tremendously. The strength of the human spirit, how unbreakable we really are, and what I think what listeners, anybody listening, you're no matter what journey you're on or where you're at in that journey, keep going. The message from people I get is you're good enough, keep going. There's light at the end of that tunnel. There is going to be light. And, finding yourself is not a kind of a destination, right? It's a journey. And we're all on this journey of really building and growing as humans. And I'm glad to be able to share my story here with you, Ajay, and today.
It's a wonderful story, Ken, and I'm just listening. I almost forgot to ask you. And that's a great story. And before I forget to ask you about your books, where are these books? Where can one buy these books?
Yeah, so that's print on demand. I'm keeping it a print. I haven't gone back to the digital one, but it's both Amazon and Barnes and Noble is quite a good one. Barnes and Noble, you can find it. It's there. It's called Letters. It's called Dear God, and it's Letters to God. And so those topics I described, each one has 4 components to it. So there's 48 letters, just 12 topics. But I'll give you love, for example, the way I approached love. And it's really me. I wrote these questions to God, asking God, it's not a religious book. It's a spiritual journey in my own life. At 50 something, I'm asking these questions. And my love idea was, isn't self-love the most important love? Shouldn't we love ourselves first, above all? And then I can accept love, right? Then I can actually accept love, and I can be a loving person. But it's hard to be a loving person or for sure to accept love if I haven't found my own love, loving myself. And at the end of those 3 is teaching love, sharing the concept, the idea of self-love and the self-worth with other people, and certainly our children. So important to teach kids about self-love, and they have that confidence of growing up. And so, acceptance goes through the same kind of a pattern of 4, forgiveness, compassion, powerful topics, and really amazing tool sets to have as a human. And I think the older we get, we realize how important it is to have some of those tool sets as we go through life.
Right, Ken. I was just thinking, how many questions are there to ask and how short this podcast time is. I could, but I will. There will be a day. There will be a day where we'll keep on talking and talking and talking. You see, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, go
Carry
ahead.
on.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was thinking you were an insurance person,
Yes.
and you were talking about life. Your conversations about life would be certainly different than now.
Yeah.
There, just I will not ask for an answer. Just it might be racing into your mind right now. Maybe you get it in a different. Your questions about life and the answers about life are different. You talk about
Yes. Yeah.
okay. You talk about life. You talk about self-love. You talk about compassion. You talk about also the human spirit is unbreakable.
Mm.
As a former insurance guy who talks about life and death, is talking about that the human spirit is unbreakable. How do you put those 2 things together? Please help us understand.
I think the insurance business is quite often misunderstood, or maybe not misunderstood, but there's parts of it that are not exposed to people, and therefore they don't know. And I'm certainly very blessed by my career. I mean, the insurance business was my rice bowl, right? It fed me, it fed my family. It's been a great thing for me to fall into that in life. And when I got to Asia to work in Asia, one of the most amazing things happened to me was we would, I was in the part of recruiting people, get people to join the insurance industry to make a better life for themselves, for their family, to protect people, to give some financial literacy to people, even if they don't join the career or they join for a short time. You learn a lot about finances in insurance. But the thing I was not prepared for was going out and handing out claims to people who had passed away, or their relatives, right? So people who had to deliver the check from a promise. Insurance is crazy. It's a piece of paper. If something happens, you pay me a lot of money, and if something happens to you or your family, then maybe something will happen for you. maybe, right?
Right.
And here we are at the worst moment in somebody's life. The worst moment you can imagine. They lost their husband, they lost their father, and you're able to come in and from the grave, this person can say, I loved you. I thought about you. I sacrificed something for you. I made a long-term commitment. I never imagined I wouldn't be here, but here I am. I'm not here, but this is the money that I thought you would need in case I'm not here to make things better. So the kids can go to school, so you can get another job, learn another career, not be a housewife, or the husband can carry on with the children. So I was totally moved by this, and really that changed even my own perception of the business, what I was in. Was learning that, and it opened up a side of me. When looking at people, what they're I think the people who achieve great success in insurance are amazing people. Great interviews, people who are superstars in the business because they're one in a million. Really one in a million. If you can become a top agent, you are one in a million person, especially in India. I can tell you, we've recruited probably 10 million people in the business. More than 10 million have come in and been trained by insurance and licensed. Be a great stat to get from the IRDA is how many agents have actually been licensed. But anyway, so it's the insurance industry is a touchy feely on the life insurance side, and especially on the distribution side. It's a very emotional and a very in touch with your human side kind of a business.
You have put it very, very well, Ken. And in fact, I also, even though I looked at it and the importance of it, I think you have looked at it from both sides
Yeah.
very, very well. And when you talk about, somebody as if somebody from the grave, somebody who has passed away, he he almost keeps his full trust in the insurance company that
Yes.
these people will take care of the promise that they made while
Yes.
I was alive. They will make keep the promise when I will be gone.
Yeah.
It is, I'm sure a lot of people understand this. I hope more and more people, especially in the insurance industry, understand this. This is something about heart. This is about
About heart.
somebody's care about somebody that they love. So how would you put
Yeah.
it? You talked about self-love. When you are gone, but still caring for the people who are living,
Mm.
you love. It is self-care, or is it just care, responsibility? How would you put it?
I think you're past self-love, right? You definitely have that self-love. And now you're into loving another person, right? You're able to really articulate that in a caring way, in a thoughtful way, knowing, every month you see the money coming out of your paycheck or out of your bank account. It's going to some piece of paper, says you got some money, maybe in the future something good happen. So it is an act of it's a selfless act. And I think if you're still not even in love with yourself yet, difficult to make that choice, because you're still going to be worried about collecting things for yourself, holding on for yourself, trying to validate. And here you're like, no, this part, that's for somebody else, just in case.
Right. So is self purely about self, or is it about
Hmm.
self,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
extension, the extension of the self? Because why ask this? Ken, is that
It's a
this
great, yeah.
whole love word about self-care amidst so much of toxicities that we are seeing in the world, either in relationships, either in offices,
Yeah, yeah.
everywhere you go. And there is this word, which is care. But where is the care when you talk about people who
Yeah.
actually care? So, is self-love love for others is or an extension of self-love, or is it about you?
Sure, it's a spectrum, right? Somewhere on self-love becomes I don't know what the word is, but I cannot think of the word right now, but you get into a little bit more. It's not healthy, Ajay, for sure. There is self-care, and I think a lot of people now have taken that to the extreme, and for sure you can see that on many places. You can see that there is a difference between self-love, self-care, and really just becoming a little bit indulgent in that. Yeah, I think you have to be
That
careful.
almost borders on selfish.
Yeah, you come to and I guess the word is simply selfish, right? You just become selfish. And that's a different, I think it's a different person. Now that I think about it, I don't know that that's on the same spectrum. I think maybe it is a different level. Selfishness is a different level. There's a lot going on with selfishness, right?
Right.
There's a lot going on with selfishness, and I think it's probably a different level. But
Right.
yeah, not on the same plane, I would think. I hope.
Right. Right. So when we talk about self-love, self-care, where does this compassion thing come? Where does it lie? Is it near you, very far from you? Compassion and empathy, if I may put together.
Yeah,
How
there.
do you bring that out when you are in a state of self-love? There has to be a lot of people do great stuff. They do charity, they take care of others, from neighbors to outside, everywhere. But then people, these are confusing times also. You want to follow your conscience, you want to follow the heart, but then somebody else says, listen, man, you were not treated well, or whatever happened to you, so you just focus on yourself, and this is your life.
Yes, yeah.
And that is where again you become further confused. If you center too much about yourself, you may gain all the material wealth that you can,
Yes.
but then it will still be not enough for you. You will still be seeking what you are actually all about. How can you be somebody else because just somebody told you, listen, you got to be self care, self love, almost turning out to be selfish or
Yeah.
self-centered. Several things at the same time, Ken. But I just want you to understand, you are a well-traveled man. 5 countries just in Asia, across many places. Now you are on a van, meeting many people from different walks of life. You get to listen to their stories from their
Yes.
heart. How
Yes.
do you see this thing? Can you help understand? Because everybody is free, they can understand it in the way manner, but they want to. But somebody has to talk about it. Who better than you, who has seen the East, the West, and looking even the US, the way it is traveling to so many places in this journey of the last 1 year.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting. This is part for me is part compassion. You talked a little bit about compassion, and compassion's complicated, right? It's not so straightforward as just look. Is compassion having emotions for somebody you see on the street when you see a child and a mother and they're needing food and they're on the street? Where did wow, is that compassion to look out the window or to give money? Is this compassion? I don't think so. For me, compassion is a different animal. It's having, it's more than just giving the money or saying a prayer for the person, right? Compassion is action. It's actually doing something, because otherwise, compassion of giving money to somebody like that is actually, just compounding the problem, right? It's not solving anything. It's maybe you feel good for a moment, but it's not real compassion. And I think compassion to me is equates to action. And this kind of compassionate living is very complicated. It's not something, not for the faint of heart. And that's why you look at Mother Teresa, that's a compassionate person. How did you know? Because what she did, right? Not who she was or what she wrote down. Okay, she had beautiful words. She said some nice prayers. She raised a lot of money, but she lived a life of compassion. I think she showed us, that's a kind of person that's compassionate. And I talk a little bit about this, and not her example in the book, but really about the 4 steps around compassion and recognizing where you're at. And I think it's okay to be the compassionate person who says a prayer, or does give some money. Those are steps along the way, but it's not probably the real definition in the end.
Right, right. Uh, let's talk, when we talk of compassion, you also talk about acceptance and forgiveness.
Yes.
What are these words? Because it's very difficult to understand. Simple words can become so complicated if we make our lives complicated. But you can answer this question.
Yeah, as I mentioned, when I set out on the journey originally, Ajay, I had these questions, and I thought everybody will, of course, answer the question differently because they have a different life experience. But as I mentioned earlier, the part that really surprised me was the fact that they actually read the question differently. Even the words were different. Before we got to the person's experience, even their interpretation of what the question meant. And that was shocking to me, really shocking. And I realized, oh my God, I have a million questions. I don't have 444. I have 1 billion questions, maybe. So acceptance and forgiveness, holy cow, these are, acceptance right now in today's world is a bananas topic, right? We are now supposed to accept everybody's viewpoint on life, what sexuality means, on what gender means, on when life begins. We have all these this acceptance. You must accept people. I think acceptance and approval is the defining line here. And I can accept who you are. I can accept what your point of view is. I can accept a lot of things about as other people. I don't maybe agree in my own life or approve of that, but I can accept you and understand how you got to that place. And I can appreciate you as a human for having that life experience. And I may have my own life experience and come to my own conclusions. So acceptance is kind of an interesting one for me. I've come to what I think is a really happy place on it after being quite confused for a long time.
You have done, sorry, Ken, you have done 200 interviews.
Yes.
Those has thrown, even there was one of these topics I heard, listen to a couple of these. There's another topic which I'll certainly, but that headline said that somebody some parent who was not so good for the person, he or she passed away, and she was trying to understand all that stuff, how to actually deal with that. More obviously, there is so much stuff in your podcast. When you listen to all these things, and when you talk to people who have not, you haven't met, or you just while on your journey, you just get to talk to them. How do you actually frame questions around acceptance, about forgiveness? At that point in time, you don't even know how their response is, how actually they look at things. So what is it that you have understood? What is it that the audience can understand from the way you see the world? You have seen the world, you have stayed in India, you have visited Tibet, so many places you have been in this part of the world. Who better to understand the way we look at things from here, the way you see those things there, and then put them together so that we can understand it better from this part.
So the concept, I don't know if I explained this part. The questions are pre-printed and they sit in the jar, and the guest actually pulls the question. And then we read it and they respond based on their life experience. So the questions are pre-printed, but what question they get is totally random. And so it's powerful in that the question can be right away, What is love? What does acceptance mean to you? So the questions, it's powerful because the structure of the podcast, I don't know the people. I just sit down. Literally, it's like you and I. We sit down, we have a pre-chat, and then we start the show. So of course I cannot ask this kind of crazy question right away. But if you pull the question, it's your question, not mine. Yeah. And so the concept of the show allows for some real, and the guest surrenders to this, Ajay. This is the beautiful part. Like, you've done so many shows, you know what it's like. Guests will tell you anything. And they surrender. Once they agree to the show, they surrender to the concept and the truth, their story just, and people are not great storytellers. So what happens is their story comes out through the jar. As they pull a question, we learn what they feel about this. And they talk about, like you said, they accepting my father. I could not, when I lived, my father, when he died, only when I got older, I understood them. I can accept them and I can forgive my father. They didn't, they did the best they could with what they had at that time. And as we grow up, we understand what it's like to be a parent. You mentioned, like, one of my shows, this is a common thing, right? Yes. People look back and they're like, I hated my father when I was growing up. I got so angry with him. I had so many fights. We didn't talk. Holy cow. So many people, they lost touch with the father. I don't know in India. I know it's not the same in India. You may have a very tension, but you don't lose the contact. In America, sometimes, forget it. I haven't talked to my father in 20 years. It's a real thing. And when they come back together, it's an amazing story because the relationship's so powerful when they come back. And it's because they have, that person has gone on their own journey. And maybe the father is the same person, not changed at all, but the other person is a different person. And I think, this is a powerful, we don't know who we are going to become as people. We don't know how we're going to be. You are a different person today than you were 10 years ago, or before you started the podcast, or when you were a young man running around trying to get a job in Delhi, or maybe you're not from Delhi originally, maybe from the north, right? And you're in the streets trying to hustle. And, we're all different people. We don't know who we will become. And it's hard to judge our parents from when we're young, where we're at in life, the station we are, the place we're at. We don't have the same experience to judge people. And, I think that's one thing I have learned is I have changed my views on a lot of different things, and I've become much more accepting. I met two trans men who came out as women in their 60s and had operations on their bodies to change them to feel more in touch with who they felt they were, to represent the body. When they look in the mirror, I want to see what I feel, not see something that doesn't feel like it belongs on my body. I never met a trans person really, like I had a conversation, an in-depth conversation, and to understand emotionally what they went through, the childhood, as an adult, what it was like. Imagine you're a professional and you go to work as Bob every day. And then one time you got the courage and you come in as Sally. What the hell kind of courage is that, right? Holy cow. You talk about, sometimes we're worried about change our hairstyle. Right. These are people with incredible courage, right or wrong, approve or not approve, I can accept that person's journey. And man, I got, I have a lot of respect for somebody that can do that. Especially my two guests. They're both, amazing people and had amazing stories. And I walked away with a different understanding. And I think just we're in a great time of life where we can meet people and I'm 61. I'm changing. I'm growing still.
Right. Going strong, going all across the US. How did this idea come in? Firstly, about this idea of going out into your van. I
Hmm.
saw some of this footage, going to that, and while you are driving, showing around. That's wonderful. That's I wish I could have shown it in this video, but maybe another one will be a bit different,
Another,
much from the outside.
yeah, it's a kind of I call it maybe the unintended consequences of life. I'll tell I'll tell a kind of a funny short version of it. But I had a crazy corporate career, and I'm a creative person inside. I have a lot of creativity going, coming up, and that creativity was channeled through work, strategy papers, presentations, PowerPoint, get on the stage. And then I had a job where everything stopped, and I was in a dead slow job, and my brain was still, going. And I decided I want to get a guitar. My third try, I want to learn guitar. And I went into a store, and I'm writing a book, and I'm going to use this one example of this guy. I went to this guitar store. It's a beautiful store in Las Vegas, Guitar Center. And there's these amazing guitars all around the walls, and 200 guitars. And I don't know anything about guitars, even though I love music. I love rock and roll. I don't know anything. So I'm walking around, and I'm thinking, I'm going to commit myself to 2 years. I'm going to take guitar for 2 years because I know I'm going to suck. It's going to be hard. But in order for me to spend the good money, because I'm not going to buy a cheap guitar, I'm going to spend real money. To justify that, I should have a plan, at least a lie. I have to lie to myself, right? Then I'm going to do something for 2 years. And so I'm going around. I don't know what to do, which one to buy, what to buy. And there's this gentleman. And actually, he's there because the universe put him there. I'm 100% I'm supposed to meet this guy. And he's moving around from chair to chair, and he's playing the guitar like a master. Finally, I get the courage. I walked up to him and I say, hey, I'm 54. This is my situation. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to learn guitar for 2 years. Can you give me advice? What guitar should I buy? And he looks me straight away, just amazing. He doesn't break nothing, just smooth. The red one. The red one. He said, yeah, the red one. The one across the room when you're in a party in a crowded room and you just want to go pick it up. You want to hold it. The one you don't want to put down. The one that talks to you. When you wake up and you see it in the morning, it's the first thing you want to touch. Get the red one. And you think about that in life, right? It's a great piece of life advice. Like I could write 10 pages around the red one. Get the red one in life. Make that choice for the red one. Could be so many things you could apply that to. Anyway, very longer story, but a short version is I bought the guitar. I found a guitar teacher, also sent to me from the universe. And that teacher said, Ken, we should write a song. And every week he would say, we should write a song. We should write a song. And eventually I pulled some words out from a book I had started called Dear God. I had put on this in a drawer for 5 years, and I pulled it out. And the first one was faith. I had written quite a bit around faith, and we took out a highlighter and we started creating verses from the words I had written. And that led to another song, till I ran out of words, till I started writing the book again. And by picking the red one, I found a guy that changed my life in music, who forced me to write a song, which forced me to write a book, which ended up becoming questions for a show that I never planned.
Right. And how did this jar idea come?
Out of the sky. It's the momentum. It's the unintended consequences of action. And you don't know. I had a great piece of something quite warming for me. I was describing people. They were asking me, "What are you doing? What's next? When you finish the jar, what are you going to do? Where's all this lead?" And I went, "I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I'm supposed to get on there. This is what I'm supposed to do this. And when I do it, then I think I'll know. And somebody said, oh, that's an old Irish proverb, which is the path will rise to meet you. So the words are careful because it's will meet you, meaning you have to be the one going somewhere for the path to be prepared for you. And I do believe this in life, that if you start down the road, you build something, you start it, you create it, and you're marching on that road, the universe will line up to meet you and the path will be there for you. Like you, Vijay, with this show, I don't think you had any idea what would happen. And if somebody asked you, what are you going to do with it? You would have said, I don't know. I'm going to get on. Like we talked, you said, I don't know. We're going to get on. We're going to talk and see what happens. And here you are with a great show, so popular. And, you know, you're interviewing great guests and it's, you probably never imagined this.
Why would I imagine this without, when I get the best, even without thinking, without imagining?
Yes. Yeah, no
then,
need.
Yes. Then what you talk about dreams. Then what are dreams then? And how do you look at dreams? Imagination is different. Dreams are different. You're just like you said, the red guitar, and you wake up and then you want to touch that guitar. What are those dreams that you want to touch? What are those dreams that you don't want to touch? As you said, we were talking before the show that many people you interviewed, even the worst kind of life they had, but they don't want to change their story.
Yeah.
They want to have the same life because it's about them. How do you look at it?
Yeah, the dream part. I think I used to have dreams, you know, your dreams of being rich, or, you know, what life is going to look like when I become, you know, when I get wealthy, and when this happens, when that happens. And those are dreams in a way. I think, you know, maybe fantasies or just idle time, but certainly we would call them dreams sometimes, or aspirations. And, you know, I think as I just finished one song. I just wrote a song about being a free man and the freedom of quitting corporate life and living a life of my own. Not what the company wants me to do, not what my supervisor wants me to do, but to live my own life and to be free. And I really, wow, the emotion coming out of that and to letting go, but also the terrifying experience. A dream of working for yourself is also a nightmare in some ways, right? You know, because also there's nobody to tell you what to do, nobody working for you, giving you something to review, to look at, like I did, you know, as a boss. You know, now I'm creating my own thing. The only person reviewing it is me, and maybe somebody else going to criticize it, you know, give me some feedback. But I think along the way, you know, my dreams have changed to become a lot different than material, and they've become more about leaving an impact, changing some lives in a positive way. You know, the dream of a legacy. I think that is, you know, probably when you're, you know, I love, there's some Indian philosophers. I follow some of the gurus on Instagram and stuff, and they talk about, you know, come into this life with nothing, you leave with nothing. And, you know, so powerful, right? Everything is given to you, right? You know, everything is given to you. We come with absolutely nothing, dependent upon our mothers. Without our mothers, we're dead. Honestly, you know, that's the real life is, without that, you're dead. We come with nothing and we leave with nothing. So what can you leave behind? And if you leave money behind, okay, money is okay, but money doesn't, you know, also the next person have to leave the money. So what is money in the end? You know, it's nothing to the fact that we can touch humans and change people's lives and help people in their worst moments. You know, being a change of agent or a light of hope for somebody. And, you know, and the one thing I do hope to do with the jar is to give people the opportunity to hear other people's stories, like you're doing with me, and that they can hopefully learn something from that person in an unscripted, a real emotional way with the jar, the questions, and learn how that person overcame and managed to get off the road they were on, some terrible road, and that journey, and to find out that, they're in a great place and you can too. No matter how tough your life, no matter what the struggle, keep going is a message I get from people. Just keep going. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and you're good enough. You are good enough. Don't listen to what people say about you, or something. Everybody's got it inside them to be who they want to be, and to be impactful in someone's life.
Right, right. So, what about your journey? Will it end with the van reaching its destination, or is it beyond that?
Yeah, I don't. What I've actually got planned now, it's interesting. We didn't talk about this, but I have the thing that's come from this for me is the mental health. I've been surprised at the level of mental health challenges in the U.S. I don't know what your take would be on in India. If it's a similar, I would assume it's a similar situation where mental health is a real struggle, and we don't get taught about how to manage our own minds and how the tool sets to do this. So I'm building a foundation. I'm in the process of creating a foundation called the JAR Foundation, and I will use the JAR podcast, and I'll use this learning institution to teach people about mental health and take that to work, to community centers. And these two businesses will help feed the foundation like a nonprofit. So I'm going to be searching for some seed money eventually to get the foundation started. But once the seed money is in, that'll help the two businesses get financially going and contribute back into the money back in. So I'm headed in that direction. I don't know, Ajay, what it looks like in the end. I can say confidently, I don't know. And, but I'll finish the journey. I'll finish the 444 interviews, and maybe there's a book there. Maybe there's a documentary. I think it lends itself quite well to a short documentary, the trip and what we've done and the people we've met. But I also have in my mind still, I leave it out there for you. One thing that's in my mind is to do an India tour. I think the JAR lends itself very well to the Indian culture, and actually doing it in a group, like an Oprah style, where it's myself and somebody sitting at a table with a small audience, and that person going through the JAR and kind of going live with that. And because, the Indian culture is so, they would be so enthralled with how someone would interpret the question. I could see them, no, the audience going crazy. That's the wrong answer. It should be this, because of competitive nature and the language, the way Indians look at language. If I got to Calcutta, imagine, that style over there, they're so debatable and they're so fiery around speech and who's right and who's wrong. So I really maybe in 1 year would be great. I'd be in India doing a tour.
Right, right. That's a great idea. You must do it. My last question to you, Ken, is that doing all these things, whatever you have learned, whatever you have seen, what is it that you actually seek for yourself at this stage in life?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ajay. And I really did this there's layers to what you do for why you do it. And one of the layers for me for doing this was an exit strategy to get out of Asia, to end the corporate career. So, this would be partly my exit strategy. I envisioned it to be a great place to do more writing, to find my writer style a bit more, and ultimately to do public speaking. I thought I've got a lot of experience in that. I've got a lot of great business messages, or even the JAR journey, but I'm a little confused now. I think I found out that what I'm supposed to be doing, my role in this now, it's not about me. And so I'm a little confused, honestly. I this is the part where I don't know where it's going to
Maybe
end.
maybe you are not confused. Maybe you have got more clarity.
And maybe it's more clear that it's not about me. It's not about me. And I'm on that journey right now, Ajay. I have learned the one thing. I love the way you say that. It's the way I should say it. I have more clarity now. I've learned it's not about me, but I don't know who it's about. But I'm more clear that it's not about me.
My personal understanding is that humans are not about themselves.
Yeah.
Can never be.
Okay.
Every other culture you see, it's all about from dust to dust.
Yes.
But this dust comes out of nothingness. It is only we humans being standing on this earth, we think we are something. But
Yes.
when act, and that fills us with ego. But we don't know that our existence is out of nothingness.
Yes.
Because we have not seen beyond earth, we don't see beyond earth, we don't find ourselves. The day you find yourself, and that can only be when you dare to see into the nothingness and find your true self. And that is why perhaps I see it that we need to travel inward. Most of our journeys, even though they are external, is about inward journey. Once we do that, we find ourselves, we find that it's not about us anymore. That's what I understand.
I can follow that. It is about the journey of self.
Yes, yes, that's what I think. But it's a wonderful talk with you, Ken. There is so much to talk. I wanted to also talk about leave corporate. Now we'll talk. This is not just the beginning. This is just the beginning of a long journey into our continuing.
Absolutely.
Maybe
Oh, we
we'll do
can. Yeah, we can do it again one time.
yes, and maybe we can co-host a particular episode.
Oh, it'd be fun.
New episode. Okay. So
Sounds great.
That will be great. It's wonderful to talk to you. It's a wonderful thing to talk. And in your journey, with the jar, I have come to understand so many things. Looks like I've been part of that journey. And as you travel, I will be along with you. I will keep on watching those shows that
Love
you
it,
put
Ajay.
on your place. So thank you very much. Thank you so much indeed, Ken, for joining us. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for watching us.
Thank you, Ajay.